In this video, I want to share personal mastery path. This method is focused on making our brain work more effectively so that it doesn't make us feel suffering, overthinking, to feel some difficulties with self-esteem and so on. In this video, I will focus on three main phases of this transformation: to develop skills and abilities of your brain through creation of neural connections in your brain to make it work better. And also to understand how energy works in the brain. It's not just neuroscience or coaching or psychology or something about effectiveness in business. It is a kind of combination of all of those. It has really holistic approach to how we can manage our own brain, which has great potential to really change your life. And I'm happy to present it here now. In this method, there are three phases. These phases are quite large. It can be a long journey. So you start with the knowledge, and it's like initiation of the process. And then you start developing skills, which will take some time. To develop some basics, it can take a couple of months. But to really gain lifelong results, this is something that you just integrate in your daily life. So in this method, we have three phases. The first step is presence, which is development of your ability to feel the moment, to be here and now. Some authors believe that this is the top of the things that we can achieve. But to me, it is like initiation. It is starting of the path. It has some steps inside, and also there will be deeper layers of the same knowledge on the path of development. So you need to understand the whole thing together. And then you will come back to those steps again and again when you will get into this knowledge a bit deeper. This is something that combines a lot, really, but making it simple at the same time, that you don't need to get too deep into one area of knowledge while you still have problems with others. We develop different types of skills at the same time, progressing so that nothing is standing on your way to feel the progress. That's the idea. I'm sure that afterwards you will understand the whole logic of it and why I put this in this way. I hope you'll see that during this video. So when we're talking about presence, about your ability to feel the moment, we have here several things which are important. And we need to focus on several topics. One of those is to understand what is overthinking. Overthinking is a large problem, and we cannot say that you can solve it just like this. It doesn't work like this. It takes time to understand this. And here I would say that we start with some theory. You need to understand something from neuroscience, which is also linked with different ancient traditions, with mindfulness and so on. They're talking about the same things. And here it's important that we have one part of our brain which is working to generate the flow of thoughts. And this flow of thoughts is not really you. It is like some radio in the background, which is always working, which is always generating something. And we shouldn't feel attached to any of the thoughts that appear in our internal broadband, like this internal radio. It's like information for us to process, but it's not something that we need to jump into right after we hear of it. Another important thing, which is also directly linked to overthinking problem, is to develop a skill of attention. And this one is also having good support by neuroscience and by ancient traditions, because as neuroscience says, we can develop physical structure of our brain. We develop the ability to focus, and there are specific techniques to do that, so that our attention becomes more catchy. You have more time to think about your thinking process. So you have more time to catch your thoughts and to behave as an external observer for your own thoughts, to feel that part of you which is really you, which is the observer, not just the flow of thoughts, like clouds in the sky and you are the sky, or you have leaves on the water while you are the ocean and leaves are just flowing on top of you. Every cloud or every leaf, they are not you. You can develop your ability to just observe them and not to associate yourself with them. And another important part here is about energy. Because when you feel exhausted, when you don't have this mental energy or life energy to develop your skills, you will not have enough willpower to sit and develop some of the skills required here. It would be hard to sit for these 15 minutes per day. It's not gonna work. You need to have energy. And it's a field of knowledge related to sleeping, related to eating habits, related to some physical exercises, and so on. So we need to combine all three to really start feeling the presence. Now we can move on to the second one. It's about automatic reactions. This part is more about psychology combined with neuroscience, or supported by neuroscience and by deeper understanding of how brain works. First one is to understand the cycle between thoughts and further reactions. Not just a thought, emotion, behavior reaction, but also how these reactions become self-fulfilling prophecies, how they become rooted in our brain. This cycle is really critical because it makes you program your brain in a certain way. You make some of the thoughts automatic, and by repeating the same things over and over, by repeating the same behavior over and over, you make them really rooted in your brain. And we need to break those cycles. So we need to understand how these cycles work and then to break them. Then when we look wider on these automatic reactions, when they are combined together, they form some larger structures, like your self-esteem. And self-esteem is influencing just everything in our life. Starting from the way how we interact with people at work, about our relationships, about the way how we communicate in our families, how we grow our kids, just everything. And all the overthinking mostly is about the things related to self-esteem and about this ego image that you want to present through the world outside instead of genuine you. Another thing which is also important here is to understand common mistakes that our brain makes. This is cognitive distortions, how we support the same beliefs, and how does it work that we don't see that there is a mistake in our thoughts. You can see that these two phases are super large. You can work the whole life on it. You can have several cycles of getting deeper and deeper into these skills. And every time you will have more joy and happiness, you will have more understanding of yourself and how it all works, and continue the path further. This is why we need some kind of life strategy to use these tools and to integrate them in our daily life and to see some North Star. Where are we going to? How are we going to use these tools further to get where we want to be? Because one of the mistakes that people do is you are going to some training and you expect that it's everything you need to do. Just that's all. That's done. But after a couple of weeks, what you feel? You have flashback. You come back to the same patterns you had before. When we're talking about this thing with brain structures and everything, we have lots of inertia there. We have these neural pathways which were programmed throughout your whole life. So it's not possible to change all of those just in a couple of months of training. It doesn't work this way. You need to understand how it works, and you need to develop some specific habits to make it work better, so that you reprogram your reactions, that you develop your presence and you keep it. That's the idea of this holistic approach, of this personal mastery path. This is something that would make my life really easier without spending too much on different kind of trainings and travelings and retreats around the world, searching for myself or escaping some things that I wanted to avoid. So this is something that I really believe can make this path easier. Of course, you will have challenges. It doesn't work the other way. You have to come to the point where you need to change yourself, and it's usually with some discomfort. Our brain is working in such a way that it wants to keep you in a safe zone. And safe zone for it is everything that is clear when you know about this thing, and there is nothing new, there is no uncertainties, there is no risks, and it wants to keep you in this kind of environment which is familiar for it, while it's not the best thing you can do in your life. you might have much more to achieve, much more to receive from life, much more joy and happiness and connection with people. These tools should be really helpful in it. I also believe that this is the fastest route. This is why I'm sharing it. This is a combination of those critical steps which we cannot avoid, which are really important, and they are important in that part of the path. With the life purpose, I called it like this because it's linked to authenticity. When you start living in presence, you are more aligned with what is coming from inside, with your real self. And that is helpful to get rid of everything odd, of everything which was there just because you've heard that it's cool, or because it looks good, or everything related to ego and our desire to have validation from outside. When we get rid of all of this, we start feeling more of ourselves, and our life path is changing in the way to really follow your real desires and to fulfill your life purpose. And this is a long-term thing. In this phase, there are several things to focus. It's development of authenticity. In simple words, I would call it like development of your internal compass. Simple example. What do you want now? Apple or orange? There are no rules about it. There is nothing to show you what's right at this point of time. There is something from inside which is telling you what exactly do you want. Do you want one, another, or you don't want any? You want kiwi. This is a kind of skill we need to develop for other areas of life, or for everything we want or don't want to do. That's the kind of North Star for us in self-development. And when you get rid of the things that make you distanced from yourself and your own needs and desires, you become more authentic. You feel your own self and what you really want by your heart. Not because it's right or wrong, or somebody will like you more if you do this or that, or you achieve something. Then it's also important to develop some habits. Because these things with presence and automatic reactions, to reprogram it and to keep it and not to lose achievements that you make just because you will catch something from your environment again and get back, maybe not to the starting point, but still life can draw you back a bit. Not to let it happen. We need to develop some daily habits which we need to bring with us further in life. To keep the energy, to catch our thoughts, which our brain will generate anyway. This is its role. This is its function. We have default mode network, which will generate thoughts all the time. It is looking for risks and dangers, and it wants to give you some advices all of the time. Whenever you are on your path, it will still work. This is the way how our brain works. And we need to understand it, and we need to keep those habits with us. And the last but not least part of this final phase is building life strategy, is to learn the tools to choose your goals, to review them from time to time, to break them down into achievable steps, and to follow this strategy. This is something that is well known for people who work in some large organizations and corporations. It is something that we all do, to have like 5-7 year strategy and then annual plans, and then you have some daily tools. We don't need to know all the tools for time management and strategy, but there are some specific things which are really useful. You can have small steps, but if these steps are in the right direction, if these steps make you closer to what you really want in life, this is enough to get there. In 5, 10, 20 years, but you will achieve this life purpose at some point of time. If you don't support your focus on your long-term strategy, you might miss days, weeks, years, and your goals will remain just a dream. Just a dream which doesn't really become your life. The earlier we start implementing those tools, the earlier we get to the point when we can feel more of joy instead of anxiety and some depression, where our normal state of mind is this slightly positive emotion, is the ability to enjoy life as it is in the presence without worrying, or with some worrying, but reasonable ones, only focused on really solving the problem, but not really draining your energy as you might have at this point of time. and as I had for many years of my life, and I'm really happy that it's in the past already. Of course, challenges are still there. Life is unpredictable and we will have difficulties. But when we have these personal mastery skills, which we've discussed today, you will overcome these challenges easier, with much less of damage, without wasting of priceless moments of life, which we can spend with people we love, and at the same time, while we are in a normal state of mind, not when we are inside our thoughts and when we can't fully be there. I hope you enjoyed the video and you're interested in learning more, so follow me and let's continue that journey together.